Shalom, I'm Rabbi Stephen Sachs. Lest there should be among you a man or a woman, or a family or a tribe, whose heart turns away this day from the Lord our God, to serve the gods of other nations, lest there should be among you a root that bears gall. Gall? Why in the world is Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses our teacher, the man who stood at Sinai, who spoke to God face to face, talking about gall? Does Moses work for a lawn doctor? What's going on here? Nachmanides, the great Jewish sage, explains. He explains, bad roots produce bad results. The parents are the roots, and the children are the produce of those spreading roots. In other words, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree is basically what Ramban is telling us. Children are a product of our environment. Think about it. If you have a kid and his parents own a business, and the kid's parents are very honest, scrupulously honest in business, it is likely the child will grow up to be scrupulously honest. If the child sees that his parents are willing to do anything to make a buck, lie, cheat, it is likely that he will become dishonest. Now, it doesn't mean that it has to be the case. For instance, I remember in high school I had a teacher, social studies teacher, and she explained that growing up her father had some very racist views. And she had adopted these views. Over time, she realized these views were wrong and was able to overcome them. But she had to make a real effort to undo the damage her father had done. We don't want to put our kids in those situations. We don't want our children to have to undo the damage that we've caused. We want to be good examples, good role models. And Moshe realizes this. That's why he commands Israel, "V'nechem asher lo yadu yishmu v'lamdu b'lira et Hashem Elokeichem." And their children that do not know, they shall hear and be in awe of the Lord thy God. What is Moshe explaining? He is commanding the children of Israel to have public gatherings where the Torah is read to the entire nation, so the children learn the Torah. It's the parents' responsibility to make sure that their children are inculcated with Jewish values. Same thing applies today. You want your children to do well in school? Well, when they're sitting down doing their first grade homework, 1 + 1, 2 + 2, it's boring. But you sit down and you help them because you want them to excel. So you put in the time. You want your children to learn to play the piano and do well at that? You pay for piano lessons. It's an investment in your children's future. Costs some money, but you're willing to invest. Same thing applies to Judaism. You want good Jewish kids, you have to inculcate them with Jewish values. Let me give you an example of parents who did a good job doing this. My parents. Like many of you, my parents are not completely Shomer Shabbat, they're not completely Shomer Mitzvot, but they're active, proud Jews. About 10 years ago or so, I was going off to Israel. My parents took me to the airport in Newark, New Jersey, and I struck up a conversation with a woman. She asked me why I had wanted to go to Israel to study at Or Sameach. I looked at her, and I looked at my parents, and I said, because of them, because of my parents. You should have seen the smile on their faces. What did my parents do to make me want to learn more about Judaism, to want to study more, to want to increase my observance level beyond what the current observance level in our home was? Well, for one thing, on Friday nights, we'd have a Kiddush. And after Kiddush, we'd have a discussion on the Parsha. My dad would open the Jewish week with the Devar Torah, find something interesting in it, and we talk about it as a family. Shabbat mornings, as a family, we go to shul together. It were these things that made me want to continue to learn more about Judaism and continue to become a more and more active and observant Jew. Let me give you another example of a parent being a good role model. Paul Rosen and his son Neil are working on building our shul's new sukkah. How about that for symbolism? Parent and child working together to build a Jewish structure. So in conclusion, I'm not asking you to become Shomer Shabbat. I'm not asking you to make radical changes to your life. What I am asking you to do is to take the necessary steps to ensure that you give your children good Jewish roots.